Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What kind of slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you from Better Off Dead. Monday, November 10th. Doing the show a little bit early today. It was a pretty good day on the show, mostly because NFL was really good. Again, we were 3-0 with the NFL plays. We're, I think, 8-1 in the NFL now over the last 3 weeks. So, I mean, obviously, I'm pretty happy about that because the NFL is considered to be one of the more difficult sports to beat, and I'm doing pretty well with it. The rest of the board yesterday was a bit lackluster, and it wound up being either a 5-3-1 day or 6-2-1, depending on what number you got on the first college basketball game that was up, which was the first game up was Western Michigan, and it was +8 when I did the show. But I went to look at the number, and I think either before the show was done or right as soon as I was done with the show, I looked at the number and it was 9.5. So, whatever number you guys got, it mattered because the game ended 9. Western Michigan was just kind of hanging right around that number the whole time. It could have gone either way, and that was one of those ones that really depended on the number that you got. So at 8, obviously, it was not a winner. At 9, it was a push. So that would have actually been, I guess, a 5-2-2 day if you had the +9 on that. And they covered the 9.5, losing by exactly 9 because they actually got fouled on a 3-point attempt right near the end of the game, and they hit all 3 free throws. That actually cut the game to 7. So after that, it looked like they might cover every number, and then I think they might have fouled again, stupidly, because that's a little bit ridiculous. The 7, as I point out in basketball, is a key number. Teams usually won't foul again once they're down 7, especially at that point there were 5 seconds left. So why would you foul again? Which I think is what happened. So that's kind of BS. But yeah, I mean, hopefully you guys got the better number on that, the 9.5. I mean, for the purposes of this show, I mean, if you want to track it as a loss, 5-3-1, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to track it as a win just because as soon as I was done with the show, I hadn't put it into my Action Network tracking yet, and I was like, oh, it's already 9.5. All right. So I don't know. Whatever you want to do with that one. Bowling Green, college basketball, easy win there. They won by margin easily. And then Loyola Chicago was kind of a letdown, man. I mean, that was a close game most of the way. And if you got the really, really early number on it, you would have covered because they lost by 2. I'm tracking that one as a loss, though, because that number wasn't out there at all. They could have won the game. I mean, they had a really nice second half. They were down in the first half. They took the lead in the second half. I think they were up by about 7-9 points maybe in the middle of the second half. Lost most of the lead, and then they were hanging on to a slim lead at the very end. And the very end was just back and forth. Kind of one of those North Texas-style games where it's low scoring, and it was just really close at the end, back and forth. And it just became a coin flip, basically. But if you had Loyola Chicago, the +1.5, you're kind of on sort of the right side of that. When it comes down to a coin flip, it's more likely than not, the team that is the underdog is probably going to at least cover that. But no, they didn't. They lost by 2, so the 1.5 was a loser. Not too happy about that. Hockey was very mediocre. I mean, it started out nice with the LA Kings being able to win in regulation 3-2. That was back and forth. I think they were up 1 goal a couple of different times in the game, but they were able to get it done, winning with a goal in the third period to win it in regulation. So that worked out. If you went money line on the whole game on that one and paid a little bit more, you got the win as well. Vancouver wound up, I believe, taking the game into overtime. So when you have an underdog that takes the game into overtime, you kind of know you sort of got that game correct. Vancouver played pretty well in the game. Like, the game was close the whole way pretty much, except when they were down 2-0, but they tied it back up at 2-2, and then it was a 1-goal game for the rest of the game, even though they were never leading in the game, but they were never down by more than 1 after that. Send it into overtime, they lost, but if you did what I recommended with a split bet, you would have pushed the bet, so that's what I'm counting that one as. That was the push. And then Winnipeg, not even close, but dude, again, Winnipeg, statistically, they played better than what the score looked against Anaheim. Like, it was a close game statistically. I don't know what that was. I don't know how Anaheim keeps winning all these games. Just, like, there has to be a letdown at some point. Like, unless we're just completely mishandicapping this Anaheim team. But still, like, even the best teams, like, they're going to have a letdown at some point in there when they played all these teams in a row that are good. I just don't know how they keep doing it. And then football, obviously, Miami Dolphins, that was laughable. I can't believe how bad Buffalo was in that game. And really, really bad for me, because in football, fantasy football, I'm going to take another loss this week, even though Jonathan Taylor got me 48 points. I'm still going to lose because I had so many no-shows yesterday. And, Mahomes and Rice are on bye. A lot of my guys did nothing, including Matt Prater as my kicker that I decided to stream this week, because I figured at least Buffalo's going to be able to score something against Miami. He should have kicking opportunities here. No, he had 1 extra point late in the game, and that was it. Because when Buffalo scored their first touchdown, they were down 16-0, so they went for 2. Absolutely ridiculous, man. But the handicap on that game was great, as Miami won the game outright, and it was just a laughably bad game for Buffalo. So we got that one right. Baltimore Ravens got the win. They were not good at the start of the game. They were losing the game for a while, and then they turned it on in the second half, and they wound up taking a 14-point lead late in the game. After early in the game, they were down by a touchdown. But they completely swung it around. They did give up a touchdown to let the Vikings cut it back to 1 score, but Baltimore was able to hold. Baltimore's defense starting to play a little bit better. Vikings did have another possession there at the end of the game, but they couldn't get anything done. Baltimore able to get that one done for us, and then pretty easy with the Chargers on the night game as well. Just no offense out of the Steelers in that game at all. I didn't really see it, but I think the final in that game was, what did the final wind up being? It was like, I don't know, 25-10 or something like that. It was like, I think it was 25-3 or something. Like, Pittsburgh was winning 3-2, and then they basically didn't score again until they got a garbage touchdown at the end. I think that didn't even really have any effect on anything. So that was easy as well. Jeffrey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Vegas has lost money? No, I don't think so, because the public has done bad. So when the public's doing bad, Vegas is winning. Like, in the NFL, the public outweighs the professional money more often than not. The worst result for the books yesterday was the Detroit Lions, very public side, although I thought the Detroit might cover that, because Dan Campbell, one thing I forgot to mention is Dan Campbell really, really fires up his team after a bad performance, after a loss. And on top of that, it was revenge for the playoffs last year. So you had to figure Detroit was going to show up, which is why I didn't really love the Washington side in that game at all. But I recommended a team total on Detroit instead, which that would have been an easy winner if you did play that, because they scored 44 points. So they went way over their team total. So, Dan Campbell, in a situation like that, he doesn't take his foot off the gas. That's the thing. He basically runs up the score when he's angry. So that's what happened in that game, partially. So I don't know. But No, I mean, the public has been doing bad. Like, the public lost, I think, probably a majority of those games yesterday. They lost on the Panthers, they lost on the Bills, and those were both outright losses. So, the books also, like, the Buffalo loss took out a lot of, like, teasers and parlays, too. So, I think the books have been doing fine. All right, let's get into today here. I'm going to have one college basketball play. Skipping hockey today, 2 NBA plays, and I am going to give out a play on the Monday Night Football game, which you probably already know what it is, although I forgot to bring up the schedule here for it, which I will. And I got to zoom in because it's way too small on the screen otherwise. All right. College basketball, I mean, there's some afternoon and actually late morning games here involving Division II teams, which I don't really handicap, so whatever. Not going to go into great detail on most of these games because there's almost no handicap to be seen with any of these. New Haven and UMass Lowell, a little bit interesting because they both played against UConn earlier, and UMass Lowell got absolutely obliterated by UConn by whatever that is. What is that, 63 points? Something like that. They got annihilated, whereas New Haven actually played pretty well against UConn, only losing by 24. So people might look at that and think, oh my God, New Haven, they're this huge underdog here. Oh wait, I forgot pregame doesn't even have their name in the system yet. UMass Lowell is actually a 10.5 point favorite here, so odds makers are telling you they're still the better team. UMass Lowell is one of the better teams in the American East, which is a better conference than the NEC, which is where New Haven is. And New Haven, I don't expect that much out of them this year. I mean, it's their first season in Division I. They faced a difficult schedule, though. I mean, they played 2 big conference teams. They just got crushed by Penn State. But now they're having to go on the road again up to UMass Lowell. Unfamiliar territory here. It is still a New England matchup, so you could argue they're going to get up for it for that reason. But UMass Lowell, I mean, their only loss is that one on the road at UConn. They won easily at home against a D2 team earlier. I would lean to laying the points with UMass Lowell in this one, although UMass Lowell seems to do pretty poorly as a favorite, though, just in the last few years. So I would have my reservations about that. But if people do that transitive handicapping thing and just see that New Haven was way better against UConn than UMass Lowell was, I think they're going to have a tendency to want to take the points there. And the odds makers are kind of indicating that you should do otherwise. UConn is also playing today, but they're playing Columbia, the New York City Ivy League team. There's not a whole lot to see there. I mean, UConn is a legit team this year. They are one of the top teams in the country. They're ranked 4th, which I don't know if what their ranking really is. I mean, Ken Pom has them 6th, so they're not really overranked. They're 34-point favorite in that one. There's nothing to really talk about with that game. I'm just mentioning that UConn is playing today. We need some better matchups, guys. That's what we need here. Vegas lost on week 10 and won on week 9. What does Grok know, though? Grok doesn't really know shit, really. I mean, it's just Grok is some bullshit AI, and Grok pretty much lies because it's programmed to do so. Nothing is a lock at all, but I like the Packers tonight. I'm going to go with my situational handicapping. There are no locks ever in handicapping. All right. We have this Indiana State SIU Edwardsville game. This is a weird game to me because Ken Pom has SIU Edwardsville as the better team, and he has them winning by like 6 points in this game, but the line is down to 1.5. So I don't know if there's some injury. I tried to look at injury information here, and I couldn't find anything because why would they be down from a 4.5 point favorite to a 1.5 point favorite? It doesn't really make any sense. Ken Pom's telling you they're the better team right now. I believe they actually won the Ohio Valley last year because they were the 16 seed that got crushed by Houston in the tournament. Indiana State's been good recently, but you know they lost their best dude from a couple of years ago, Robbie Avila, transferred to St. Louis for last year's season. So Indiana State kind of fell back down after that, so they're not really as good, although people kind of remember the name for that reason, and because Larry Bird went there. But we're decades removed from that. Wait, are we? What? 50% of tickets, 65% of the cash on Indiana State, though. I don't fully understand what's going on with that line. And as far as the scheduling is concerned in that one, Indiana State does have to play Duke in 4 days. So, I mean, it does set up a potential look ahead there. SIU Edwardsville, they're, I believe, in Indiana as well, and they might consider themselves to be a little bit of a little brother here. So they might actually step their game up a little bit more for this. Although they do have Drake up next, but that Drake team is not the Drake team of 2 years ago. It's not the Drake team of last year. It's a different Drake every year, man. 2 years ago, it was DeVries, the coach and his son. They transferred to West Virginia. Last year, Drake had that new team with Ben McCollum and his guys that came up from Northwest Missouri State or whatever it was. Now they're gone, and those guys went to Iowa. So it's insane, dude. So it's a new Drake team again this year. So I don't know if they still draw your attention just because it's the name Drake and they're still one of the better teams in the Missouri Valley Conference. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards SIU Edwardsville in that game just because it's such a discrepancy between the line and what Ken Baum is telling you. But Ken Baum can get stuff wrong early in the season. We do have Western Kentucky against Eastern Kentucky. It's just kind of hilarious because it's a cross-state matchup there. These two teams are in different conferences. Western Kentucky obviously has the better program history, and they're in kind of the better conference, the Conference USA, against wherever Eastern Kentucky, I think, is in the A-Sun. Yeah. So Eastern Kentucky might consider themselves to be a little bit of the little brother, although I believe Eastern Kentucky has a bigger game up next. Well, they play Vandy next. It's a pretty big game, but I doubt that they overlook Western Kentucky at home. And everybody kind of knows the name Western Kentucky, so I would kind of lean towards Eastern Kentucky here. And they're actually a favorite up to 2 points, so not really knowing anything about these teams, I do think the public, if they look at this game, would have a tendency to want to play Western Kentucky because they remember Western Kentucky being good repeatedly. Like, Western Kentucky had that nice couple of years when they made the tournament a couple of times. One of them where I got them right, making the Sweet 16 in my bracket that year that they did that in, what was that, 2007? No, 2008 maybe? 2008, I think. Yeah. So that was the year I think they had Courtney Lee back then who wound up in the NBA, and then they had a couple other really good players too. Rodriguez Lopez, and then whoever else they had, I forget. So people might remember that from back then. They just have a bigger name, though. I'm just reminiscing about my my awesome upset bracket in 2008 that totally failed in the later rounds, but I hit so many first-round upsets that year, man. My bracket was crazy that year. I had Siena over Vandy. I had San Diego over UConn as well, just because I'm that insane, and I just hated UConn. I think the only one I didn't get right was Villanova upsetting Clemson that year in a 12-5. I think I had basically all the other ones that year. I had a couple of the second-round ones right as well. The Davidson beating Gonzaga is what it was, I think it was. Davidson beat them in the first. I don't even remember because I think that was the year Steph Curry with Davidson ran to the Elite Eight, if I'm not mistaken, and they almost beat Kansas, if I remember. I don't remember anything though, but I did have them getting to the Sweet 16 round as a 10 seed, so I had that, and then I think I had Duke getting upset in the second round by maybe West Virginia, something like that. I don't know. My autism mind, but anyway, let's get back to this. Seton Hall. Not that big of a favorite against a not very good Fairfield team, although Fairfield seems to be kind of on their way up a little bit in the MAAC conference. This Seton Hall team, I know they made the tournament a few years in a row pretty recently, but they're way down, it looks like right now. They were terrible last year, and I don't think that they've improved really. They're down from a 14 to a 13-point favorite here, so the money looks like it's kind of coming in on the Fairfield side. Seton Hall plays a lot of ugly, low-scoring games kind of too, so you never really want to lay points with them, in my opinion. But they're coming off a really, really bad game where they almost lost to Wagner. They were only able to beat Wagner by 7 at home. Wagner and Northeastern Conference team, although they're one of the better Northeast Conference teams, but still not great. Stetson against Miami. Stetson is a little brother situation there against Miami, but Miami's going to be a massive favorite, so I don't really think there's anything to really look at there. They're more than a 30-point favorite. Not really something I'm interested in looking at. Eastern Michigan at Pitt. You could argue that Pitt is in a look ahead because they do have West Virginia next, which is I mean, there's a rivalry between those two schools, more so in football, but could be a little bit of a look ahead there. Maybe Eastern Michigan catches them by surprise. Pittsburgh's down from 18.5 to 18 here. So Pittsburgh not favored by that much really in that game. I'd probably look to take the points with Eastern Michigan there, but don't really have an opinion otherwise. The one kind of big game today is Mississippi State against Iowa State at 8 p.m. on ESPNU, and this is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota for some reason, which I believe is that might be the place that hosts the Summit League tournament that hosted some games earlier this year. I don't even know. Might be a different basketball arena in Sioux Falls. I'm not even sure what the name of that arena is. The Sanford Pentagon. That's not good. There's going to be some Department of Defense corruption going on here. Iowa State's ranked 16th in the country. I mean, they're not really the same team as last year because they lost two of their three best players are gone. Like the guy that's returning is Mumsilovich, who is pretty good. He's kind of a big man who can do other things as well. So they do still have him back. Mississippi State, kind of an under-the-radar program, though. People just seem to not really like them because they're not a great offensive team. But I think I would probably look to take the points with Mississippi State in this one just because early season, I think you get bias in the line towards the team that was the better team the previous year. And now that you have all this turnover coming into the new year, you don't really know exactly who these teams are yet. I'm not going to deny that Iowa State's still good, and Ken Pom does still have them ranked very high. He has them 12th in the country and second defensively so far. So he actually does have them, and they're known for playing defense too. Under I always forget their coach's name. Ostelberger. I think I'm getting that wrong. Whatever the hell his name. Otzenberger. TJ Otzenberger, something like that. Still well-coached team. Not going to deny that they're good. They're actually even a little bit underranked according to Ken Pom. Mississippi State's not that far behind, though, at 28th. So he's got Mississippi State as kind of a well-rounded team here as well. To me, I think Mississippi State can hang within that number. I would probably lean towards taking the points. Iowa State's a little bit public. I mean, if there's going to be any game the public is looking at tonight, it's probably going to be this one. Iowa State's a 5-point favorite. They do have a little bit of an advantage in the venue, though, because, of course, Sioux Falls is a lot closer to Iowa than it is to Mississippi. 75% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on Iowa State, but the line dropped slightly from 5.5 to 5 with juice. I just think if you fade like the perception of last year, maybe there's a little bit of value in the line there with Mississippi State. Cleveland State at Northwestern. Cleveland State, they're coming off only winning by 1 against whoever the hell Capital is, which they're a Division II team, so there wasn't even a line on this. You know Cleveland State had to have been essentially a big favorite in this game, and they almost lost the game outright. You got to think they just completely overlooked this Capital team, so I expect a better performance out of Cleveland State here. Maybe they were looking ahead to Northwestern, and not only that, but it looks like it was almost kind of a sandwich spot because Cleveland State, as like a 17, 18-point underdog, almost beat Loyola Chicago in their opener, so they almost pulled off a huge upset there, so that probably took a lot out of them, and they had this big game up next against Northwestern, but now that they almost got caught against a far inferior Capital team, Cleveland State's showing all these really disparate results here. I think they probably go into Northwestern and actually play well. Northwestern, they have bigger games coming up. I mean, they have DePaul next. I know that you wouldn't think that would be that big, but DePaul is still a Big East team, and DePaul, they're in Chicago, like in the Chicago area, so that is a geographic game between Northwestern and DePaul. I just think it is a bigger game for DePaul, though, because Northwestern's just been the better program. So I'm not quite ready to jump in on Cleveland State here, but that is the way I would lean. Northwestern does have Virginia, South Carolina, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State all up next. So they actually play all big conference teams within the next month or so, and a couple of Big Ten games in there as well. So, interestingly, I would take the points with Cleveland State in this one. Northwestern got some of the early money. It looks like they're up to 21.5 now with juice up from 20. Northwestern's also a team that plays really ugly. Usually they play really slow, so you do tend to want to take points with them if you can. Like, they're not really that great in the favorite role. Let's just put it that way, like covering big numbers. Yeah, I would take the points with Cleveland State in that one. I'm kind of tempted. It's close to a play for me. Mr. Pinsey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. You know what? Should we add one more college basketball play? What does Ken Palm have to say about this? Not that I want to show all of his secrets. As always, I recommend go buy Ken Palm because it's pretty cheap and he's still got the best like college basketball analytics. It's only like an annual payment of like $30. Now, for Northwestern, they are a better defensive team and offensive team as well, and he has a very, very slow tempo as well. So those things seem to line up to be a team, like they profile as a team that you definitely want to fade as a favorite. He's got them winning this game by 18, so that doesn't look too bad either as far as potentially fading them. I mean, they're coming off some easy games, but they didn't put up a lot of points. They haven't crossed the 80 threshold yet, so this is an offense that is not terrific. You know what? Let's do it. Let's add this play. We'll have 2 plays today. We'll play Cleveland State here. Let me see. What can we get on this number here? Let me see. Action Network looks like it's showing you the complete opposite. I mean, it is showing you what we see in pregame here with the 21.5. I mean, with the line moving up to that 21.5, but it could be one of those early moves that you just shouldn't read that much into. You can get 21.5 on this. I mean, I know that's not a key number in basketball. It's not football, but yeah, I think Cleveland State could definitely hang within this number. So let's add a basketball play here. Cleveland State plus 21.5. So that'll be that one. Maybe it'll get even a little bit higher. Who knows? All right, so that'll be one play. Let's see. Santa Clara and Xavier actually might be a decent game because Santa Clara has actually been a fairly decent team in the West Coast Conference recently. It is their first road game, though, and their first time leaving the Pacific time zone and having to go all the way to, I believe, Cincinnati is where Xavier is. That's going to be a weird travel spot for them, I think, without a doubt. So it doesn't look like a great travel spot for Santa Clara. Xavier is just staying at home, although Xavier's not looked good so far. They barely won each of their first 2 games here against inferior opponents, Marist and Lemoyne. And maybe Xavier's just not as good as we thought they would be this year because they did lose their coach and some of their best players. Sean Miller went over to Texas and took some of their players. Xavier does have Iowa up next, so that could be a little bit of a look ahead. So I'm not quite ready to do this, but I mean, my opinion is kind of to lean to Xavier here, but the money is really disagreeing with it. Down from 4.5 to 3, 60% of the tickets, 56% of the cash. So I don't really want to do it, of course, but I kind of disagree with the market read in that one. Nate, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Boozer, yeah, I forgot, Duke. Carlos Boozer, former Duke, or I should say Duke alumnus. Carlos Boozer, I totally forgot his his sons, they're twin brothers, I think. He's got a bunch of sons, but 2 of them are on Duke now, the Boozer brothers. They're Carlos Boozer's twin sons. Pinsey, did I say hi? I don't even remember if I said hi. I apologize if I did already, but yes, hello. All right, the other play I'm going to have is we're going to lay the points with Grand Canyon. I know the line has gone up a little bit on this one, so the money is seemingly agreeing with this. It's up from 18 to 20.5 or 21. I saw 20.5 out there. Once you get into these numbers like this, they're not really key, but of course every possession does matter a little bit. But they're playing Northern Illinois here, and I just think that the spot lines up decently for a blowout. Northern Illinois, I mean, yeah, they're coming off playing Wisconsin, which is a fairly difficult matchup, although, of course, they didn't play particularly well. They lost by 25. They actually covered in the game because they're 28.5-point underdogs. But now they're going from Wisconsin all the way out to Arizona to play Grand Canyon. Looks like kind of a difficult travel spot to me for Northern Illinois. I don't think they usually have to go out and play teams this far west. And meanwhile, Grand Canyon, I think they're going to be in an angry mood here, man, because they lost to Youngstown State, shockingly. Another team from further east, Youngstown, from Youngstown, Ohio. somehow Youngstown went into Grand Canyon and beat them as 15.5-point underdogs. Grand Canyon had a terrible shooting performance from three-point range, which is really pretty much the difference in the game. 15.4. I mean, that is an outlier. Don't expect that to happen again. And Youngstown shot 44.4% from three. That's an outlier as well. So definitely some outliers going on in this game. Grand Canyon did still dominate the rebounding battle, which you like to see, again, because that's the more predictable stats. I do like a team that's going to dominate on the interior. Grand Canyon did lose the turnover battle, too, which usually doesn't happen at home, and that is a fixable thing because that's really a mental thing. It's mental mistakes is what really causes most of the turnovers. So I think they can fix that, not lose the turnover battle this time. Usually the home team that's the better team does not lose the turnover battle. So I see signs here that tell you that this was a bit of an outlier of a result here. Should regress back to some sort of mean, and it should focus Grand Canyon because that was just a stupid loss. So I like Grand Canyon. I think they should win this game easily. Hopefully we get that one as well. All right. What else do we have here? Holy Cross, hilariously, is out in elevation. They already just lost to BYU badly by over 40 points. Now they got to go to Utah. I mean, not an easy opening schedule for this Holy Cross team, man. So maybe we'll get to a point where Holy Cross might be a little bit undervalued just because they've faced such a difficult schedule so far. But we'll wait to see on that. And then St. Thomas and Washington State, this is only going to be on ESPN Plus, but this is actually a pretty interesting game, man, because Washington State obviously has a lot of name recognition because they were in the Pac-12. They've made the tournament repeatedly recently, including, I think, either last year or the year before that they were in the tournament. So they're considered to be this big name. They have a lot of name recognition. Still, I don't think people really know who St. Thomas is. St. Thomas, in my opinion, I think they should have won the Summit League last year. They were the best team in the Summit. They're not bad, dude. The St. Thomas Tommies. And I believe they have, they have Austin Hero, by the way, on their team, who is Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat. That's his younger brother. Austin Hero is on this St. Thomas team. I don't know if he's as good, but he's a name, at least. And maybe he will be a hero. But I kind of like St. Thomas in this game, man. Although going out to the Pacific Coast, a little bit difficult. They already did it this year, but they got blasted by St. Mary's. Although St. Mary's is better than Washington State. St. Mary's, they're like the class of the WCC. We know it's St. Mary's and Gonzaga. It's those two teams and then everybody else. And Washington State is everybody else. But that at least prepared St. Thomas for kind of the grind of having to go out to the Pacific Coast. They got a win against Army last time out, which was an unimpressive win over Army. St. Thomas was an 18.5-point favorite, and they didn't cover in the game, so not a great performance out of them. Maybe they were looking ahead here. Could have been a little bit of a sandwich spot with travel, so it wasn't a great spot, but I kind of expect them to show up better in this game. Washington State actually has more travel because they actually had to go from Washington from home to Davidson because this was the double Brian Koberger spot because you had Washington State facing Davidson after Davidson faced DeSales, Brian Koberger's other school that he graduated from, which is, again, dude, I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't understand how you get a college basketball schedule like that and why Davidson, I don't know. And Washington State did play Idaho the game before that too, which is, that's not weird because Washington State and Idaho are just up the road from each other across the border. They're like sister universities, so I think they probably always play each other, but still, it's a lot of weird stuff going on with that, with Koberger references going on here, the Idaho 4 case. Very, very strange. You know me, I'm a true crime aficionado, so whatever. Washington State, though, they are 0-2 to start the season, so they're going to be looking for their first win still, so I'm not going to say they're going to be unmotivated here, but they do have their huge rival, Washington, up next, and you know that's always one of their biggest games because Washington is in the Big Ten now. Washington State wound up in this lesser conference, the WCC, so they always consider themselves to be a little brother. Even before that, they did, so they could potentially overlook St. Thomas for that reason. And again, multiple cross-country trips here from Washington State, having to go to Davidson in the Carolinas and now back home. I would lean to St. Thomas in this one. The money seems to agree with it. Washington State down from 2.5 to 1. If you can watch that game, I think it might be a fun game to watch. So figured I would point that out, although I'm not going to make a play on that. And then we do have UCLA is in action tonight, but they're a massive favorite against West Georgia. For some reason, West Georgia, they have to go all the way out to UCLA and play them out there. Good luck with that. Yeah, I mean, UCLA is a huge favorite there. What else can I say about that? Will they cover a massive number? Who knows? But obviously they should win. They're a 34-point favorite there. All right. I'm going to need more water here. Might have to go to another intermission here for a minute here. I will bring up the hockey slate for now, which will be next. I don't have any plays in hockey today. There are only 4 games. There are maybe some interesting angles here, but hold on one second, and I will be back in a second. I'm back. All right, what's up, guys? Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Oh man, my voice is dude, instinctively I just talk too loud. I don't know what I need to do about it. And I need water badly. All right. In hockey here, by the way, college basketball, off to a good start. I mean, we're off to a 6-0 start to start college basketball, so I am happy about that. Although I think now we're about, what are we, like 9-5 or 9-4-1, something like that. I mean, we're still up, so I'm happy about it, but I want to get a little bit better there. Some of these early games are a little bit difficult. Edmonton fans freaking out after the 9-1 loss. Captains and goalies skip media. I mean, I'm going to talk about Edmonton, so I'll let you guys hang on for a minute, and then I'll talk about it because, yeah, I mean, I have some opinions on that Edmonton game, and they might actually disagree with the market here. Yeah, how do you pronounce his name? Draisaitl, I forget, but yeah, I mean, the whole team is going to be pissed, dude. That's basically the crux of that handicap in that game. Not going to be a play for me, though. We do have first game up is the Islanders and the Devils. The Islanders are coming off a nice win, which is a win for us on the show, at the Rangers. I mean, what else is new? Oh, my God, the Rangers got shut out again at home. Yeah, they did. So the Islanders are coming off a pretty big win. I mean, they always, it's a big deal for the Islanders when they go into Madison Square Garden and shut out the Rangers. Dude, the Rangers are so unbelievably bad at home. It's ridiculous. Like, they're 0-7 at home now. Or I guess they might have some overtime losses in there, but they've lost all 7 home games, and they've been shut out in 5 of them. I mean, it's just insane. I can't believe how bad the Rangers are at home, but we can keep riding that phenomenon. But the Islanders could be maybe in a little bit of a letdown spot after that. They are playing a third game in 4 days. They're only traveling to New Jersey, though. It's not a huge travel spot here, and you got to think they will still get up for this game, too, if they can. So I'm not really exactly thrilled to fade the Islanders here. But I do think the spot is probably a little bit better for New Jersey because the Islanders are still coming off what is a big win for them. New Jersey did beat Pittsburgh in a shootout. Although Pittsburgh, I mean, they got a good record. So will New Jersey be like in a letdown spot after that? My opinion is no, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I kind of like New Jersey in this one. They are at least staying at home. They have a little bit more rest. The money looks like it initially disagreed, driving the line down from minus 175 to minus 151, but 84% of the tickets and 93% of the cash coming in on the Devils. So the money is kind of indicating on the Devils at this point. I don't really disagree with it, but I really don't have a strong opinion here at all. Zach, what's up, man? You're a Devils fan. Draisaitl? Okay. That should be, for some reason, it sounds like that should be like a dry cleaning business or something. He should open a dry cleaning business and call it Draisaitl. The Edmonton fan who showed her tits, that is Oiler Kate is her name. Unfortunately, she has fake tits, although I'm not a fan of fake tits, but as far as fake tits go, they're not bad. She wound up doing like a spread for Playboy, so that's out there. You can check that one out. You guys might enjoy that. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. She's probably mad. Yeah, I mean she's a crazed Oiler fan, so they probably need her back. They need her to show up. She needs to come to this game tonight to try to fix what's wrong with them. Nashville is at the Rangers. Oh my God, the Rangers have a home game tonight, and the money is fading them. The Rangers are up from minus 171 to minus 180. 87% of the tickets on the Rangers. Why is the public on the Rangers, dude? They just hate Nashville that much. I mean, yeah, Nashville, I mean, they've been a money burner for me pretty much too over the last couple of years. I can't get Nashville right. I mean, I can't do it. I can't figure this team out. I continue to think they're just kind of an undervalued team, but the public doesn't want anything to do with them, as usual. But really, the public's going to be on the Rangers when they still have not won at home. There's absolutely no way that I could play the Rangers in a home game until they show me that they could actually break this curse. I mean, I think they're cursed. It's ridiculous. It's the curse of the Kreider. Since they let Kreider go, their offense has been non-existent at home. That's the curse, dude. My man, Chris Kreider, he's on Anaheim now. As followers of the show may know, one of my coworkers, shout out to Paul at my first company that I worked for back in the day. Paul from this area, his son, because Kreider's from Massachusetts. Paul's son played hockey with Kreider in high school, and so like Chris Kreider is like his son's best friend basically from high school, so he knows Chris Kreider. So shout out to Kreider and to Paul. I don't know Kreider. I know Paul though. I don't know Paul's son either. But yeah, I mean, kind of a little bit of a tie in there. But yeah, dude, I think it's like the curse of the Bambino Ranger style. Like since they traded him away, he's still a great offensive player. He's been good with the Ducks. I see him showing up on the scoreboard all the time, so he's scoring goals out there. And Anaheim's playing way, way better this year with him. So I don't know what the Rangers are doing here, man. Will they finally be able to get a win here as a big favorite at home? I mean, you got to think that they should kind of be able to do it, man, against an inferior Nashville team. Nashville's not really in a good spot either. I mean, they were just at home and they played Dallas pretty tough, although it was a Noonan in net. So Saros likely back in net here for Nashville, who is their better goalie, although at this point it hasn't even mattered. They've lost 7 of their last 8 games. They've actually lost 11 of their last, 11 of their last 14 games, I think, have been losses for Nashville. I mean, they've been bad, dude. Although some overtime losses in there too. But coming off a big game against Dallas where you play them that close, and now you have a single game up in New York, and then remember, they have to go and face Pittsburgh. This is part of my handicap against Pittsburgh yesterday. Nashville has to pack their bags, and they got to go play Pittsburgh in Sweden over the weekend. So, or starting on Friday. So that is kind of a look-ahead spot too. So I think this is a pretty bad spot for Nashville. Like, I think the Rangers are actually in the better spot here, so I don't agree with the market here. Like, situationally, it sets up nicely for the Rangers. They're staying at home. They just took another ugly home loss. Like, they have to get up for this game. You got to think that they have to. So I don't agree with the market in that one. Like, I would probably play the Rangers if I was forced to play it, but obviously I can't do it until they show me that they can win. Like, if they don't win at home in this spot, where I think Nashville is actually in a sandwich spot here, then I don't know what to tell you. This Ranger team, yeah, I mean, they're really, really actually bad if they can't win this game. Like, that's what I'll say about that. They should win this. Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, my job that I was just referencing was the first job that I had out of college, which was a long time ago at this point. I've worked at multiple different companies in my career, but yeah, my most recent job, yeah, I got doxxed because I covered the Kanye West feel-good hit of the summer, if you want to call it that. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to get this channel nuked. I covered Kanye West's big hit that got canceled from everywhere. I got doxxed because there were too many people that just hate me online. People called up my company, and my company fired me over it. So that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. Kreider, yeah, he's doing well in Anaheim. Yeah, Kreider needs to, bet against his own team. Score an own goal. I don't think that's going to happen. Those own goals are so rare, although the Bruins did it this year. But the Bruins are actually playing pretty well right now, so I'm not going to complain too much. Friday afternoon game. Is it in? Oh, yeah, it's in the afternoon probably, right? Because it'll be a night game in Sweden. I don't know. Yeah. Jeffrey, you're always a Buffalo Wild Wings, man. Yes, sir. That's all right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't necessarily fit in there. I mean, these big corporations in blue cities, they do not jive with anything except, like, progressive politics, man. Like, you're not allowed to stray from it. And, like, I know that, like, there are other people that I worked with that would, like talk one-on-one with you, and at least, like, they would, like, admit that they, like, voted for Trump and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, but they wouldn't even say that publicly. You know what I mean? Although Trump has been a major disappointment as well. But I don't want to get into politics on the show, really. The rest of the hockey slate, we do have the Edmonton game to talk about here. Columbus at Edmonton. Edmonton, dude, I mean, they're in such an embarrassed spot here, I think. They've lost 3 games in a row, but they lost to St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis is at least better than their record looks right now. And then they lost to Dallas, and fuck you, ad block. I hate that shit. They lost to Dallas in a shootout on the road. I mean, you can't really knock Edmonton for that. But then they came home, and they got absolutely embarrassed by Colorado. I know Colorado's good. They're one of the best teams in hockey right now. But 9-1, you lose to anybody 9-1 at home. That is really, really embarrassing. And now they've had at least a day off here. They're staying at home. I do think you're gonna get a focused Edmonton team here. You got to think. I think the fact that they skipped the press conference, I'm fine with that. As far as, like, I mean, I'm not an Edmonton fan. Like, I'm kind of an Edmonton hater, but I think that indicates that they're going to be focused on this. Like, the only thing that you don't want to see in a press conference is, like, seeing a team, like, kind of, like, underplaying something. Like, you want the team to be, like, kind of serious about it. Like, basically you want the mental state to be, like, we still have things that we can fix. And in this case, it's like, we're so pissed off, we're not even going to talk to you. I actually think that's good, because I think that means that they are going to come out in an angry mood here. They're certainly the better team over Columbus. Columbus is towards the end of a road trip here, although Columbus is probably going to show up focused here too. They did have some days off between Wednesday and Saturday. They haven't won a game on the road trip yet, so you got to think they will be trying to focus here. They have one more game on the road trip tomorrow. And they're going to actually be in an Edmonton sandwich tomorrow, which I don't even know if they have sandwiches in Edmonton. I don't know what they would eat up there. Some Canadian sandwich that doesn't make any sense to us in the States, as most Canadian food does not. But yeah, they're still trying to get a win on the road trip, so I expect both teams to actually be focused here. And when that's the case, I usually lean towards the better team, although the money is disagreeing. Edmonton down from -190 to -168, 69% of tickets on them, 55% of the cash coming in on Columbus. I don't really agree with that. I mean, I would lean somewhat towards Edmonton here. I mean, I don't really expect them to lose that game after such an embarrassing loss. Like, yeah, Columbus would like to win that game, but again, if you get an angry, focused Edmonton team at home and they're the better team, they should win that game. And then Florida and Vegas is the latest game on the slate here. This is actually probably my strongest opinion on the hockey board here. Florida, they're coming off an ugly loss to San Jose on Saturday, so I think I'm going to expect them to bounce back here, and they're 1-2 on the road trip, so I kind of expect them to play better and try to split this road trip here at 2-2. I think they got caught by San Jose. I mean, Bobrovsky got rested in that game, so Florida did not have their better goalie in net there. They had also just beaten the Kings, which was a bigger game, and they had this Vegas game coming up next. So I think they kind of got caught in a sandwich spot, a spot where they just kind of didn't take it seriously. I think they should bounce back here. The one issue I have with it is that Vegas is going to be kind of in revenge mode because Vegas did lose at Florida back on October 25th, although that does show you that Florida has the ability to beat Vegas. I think that was a play for me on the show, if I remember correctly. I think I gave out Florida in that game. So that was a winner for us, I believe. But Vegas, I mean, they're going to be focused for that reason. Vegas did just lose in a more difficult game, though. They're staying at home, but they played this upstart Anaheim team, and they lost in overtime on Saturday. So it's a little bit more of a difficult game to bounce back from. So if it weren't for the revenge spot for Vegas here, I think they will be looking for some revenge on Florida. I do kind of like Florida here. I think Bobrovsky's going to be back in net here. Vegas is the public side here just because their record is better. Florida's kind of around 500 right now and a somewhat injured team, but I still don't think Florida's bad. I mean, the odds makers are telling you Vegas is only the slightly better team here with a number like this. They're up from minus 140 to minus 142. 92% of tickets, so they're very public, and 97% of the cash for now. But I would probably play Florida money line in that one if I was gonna play any of these games on this entire hockey board today. That's what I would do. Man, we're an hour in. All right, we got NBA, and then we'll have the one football game today. All right, NBA. I mean, I have a few opinions here. First game is Lakers at Charlotte. The Lakers. They did just have kind of an embarrassing loss, losing at Atlanta, and that's Atlanta without Trae Young. I think the Lakers they must have just not shown up for that game because they lost that game by 20 points. I don't know what happened in that game, but the Lakers were on a big win streak. They'd won 5 games in a row, and sometimes when you take a loss like that, it will hang you over a little bit into the next game. Although I know last time they took a loss, they did bounce back, and they won at Minnesota, and I assume the Lakers were an underdog in that game, so they did not fail to cover in that one. But sometimes you do get hung over a little bit after you lose a win streak like that. They're playing Charlotte, which might not be a team that you totally focus on, and the Lakers do have Oklahoma City up on Wednesday, which is going to be a big ESPN game, and of course, it's Oklahoma City. It's the returning champs. First time the Lakers see them this year, and that's going to be a huge game, so this is a pretty major look-ahead spot. So I do like Charlotte in this game. And Charlotte is coming off that loss for us that really, really pissed me off. I thought it was a much better spot for Charlotte in this game against Miami. And if you look at what happened in this game, I mean, I did talk about it. Charlotte dominated this game on the interior. They out-rebounded Miami by 20, 57-37, and they still lost the game. And why did they lose? Oh, yeah, well, they lost the turnover battle 18-8, but also they only shot 38.1% from the field and 25.6% from three, whereas Miami shot 51.5% from the field and 42.9% from three. Major outlier shooting here. Charlotte was still, in the mix to potentially still cover that number towards the end of that game, and they still didn't do it. I mean, that pissed me off because the rebounding being the most predictable stat and the best predictor was heavily in the Hornets' favor in that game. I think Miami got to the free throw line more in the game too. That really pissed me off. So that game wasn't what it looked like. Charlotte actually played better in that game than it looked like. And even though this is a return home spot for Charlotte, their trip only took them to New Orleans and Miami. That's not really a true road trip return spot. They're not going to overlook the Lakers, obviously. I think they will show up for the Lakers. So I like Charlotte plus the points in this one. This is actually close to being a play for me because that Laker to OKC spot, that looks like a major look-ahead spot to me. So I would take the points with the Hornets if I was going to play this one. It's close. 85% of tickets, 79% of the cash on the Lakers, so they are public with less of the money on them. So, yeah, I like the Hornets to cover in that one. Detroit and Washington, should I save it for the... I'll save it for the end. We'll have a little bit of a best bet segment at the end where I'll give out 2 NBA plays. And you're not going to like this one. I don't even like it, and it's still one of my plays, so you know what it is. And then I have a play in the NFL game as well. Dirty Sock, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out again. All right. And I apologize for going earlier today, but I'll give out the college basketball plays again at the end of the show. You can go back and see my analysis on it or follow me on Instagram, and I'm going to put out the analysis on Instagram as well. Portland at Orlando. Orlando's on a back-to-back, and they just finished a back-to-back. They finished 2 straight games against the Celtics, and I was correct about the game yesterday. The Celtics got the win and cover yesterday. They covered as an underdog and won outright. Celtics were correct in the zigzag spot yesterday. Those are big games. I mean, it's always pretty big when you play the Celtics, even though they're a bit down this year. So Orlando coming off a close game against the Celtics after beating them the game before that. Now they got a Western Conference team coming in, even though, yes, it is Portland. Portland's pretty good this year, but Orlando might overlook it, man, because Wednesday they're also in an ESPN game. They're in the other game that's on ESPN in that big doubleheader on Wednesday. Orlando's got to play the Knicks. That's a pretty big look-ahead spot, I think. So this kind of looks like a sandwich spot to me for Orlando here. So I don't like Orlando in this spot. Portland is only 5-4 as well, so that kind of makes them more likely to be overlooked. Although Portland's coming off a couple of big games themselves, man. I mean, look at this run they've been on since Halloween. They beat Denver at home. They came fairly close with the Lakers at home. They beat Oklahoma City at home, dealing them their first loss. And then they started the road trip, and they played a tough, high-scoring game at Miami, and they just barely lost the game. As Portland was actually 3.5-point favorites in the game, though. But this is a difficult game against Miami. They just barely lost. So I don't really love the spot for Portland here either. Although I kind of think Orlando is in the worst of the 2 spots here. The money seems to be saying Orlando right now, even though they did drop from a 3-point favorite to a 2.5-point favorite. 55% of tickets, 81% of the cash coming in on the Magic. Magic are still kind of in the midst of figuring things out as far as their new tempo and style of offense, which I still don't know why they're doing that. I slightly lean to the Trailblazers in this game, plus the points, because I don't like the spot for the Magic at all. But the money's seemingly kind of saying otherwise, so we'll see. Charlotte, 19 offensive rebounds. Effort. That's exactly what you want with an underdog like Charlotte, man. And they were up to a 7-point underdog when that game went off. It was 5 when I had given the play out in the morning, and then it was 7 later in the day. Excuse me. So you could have gotten 7 on that if you played it later in the day, and they didn't cover any of the numbers. But yeah, that's what you want with an underdog effort like that. And if they're rebounding like that, there's no way that they should lose by that margin. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Thank you, sir. Yeah, the parlay was able to hit. Although you could have had an extra parlay piece with tonight's play, but that's another chance of losing the parlay. So it's good that you hit the parlay, man. And yeah, all the straight bets won in addition to the gay bet. Yeah, and dude, NFL's been good recently. I'm happy about it. I'm doing well in the overall pick'em as well. I think I'm hitting above 60% picking every game against the spread, which is almost impossible. Although ESPN gives you some stale-ish lines because they lock them on Tuesday, but even so, I'm still running at a ridiculous rate. I'm in the top 600 on ESPN right now in the spread game. So if I can continue to do really well, I might be in the mix there at the end of the year. I don't know. I'm in a pick 5 pool on Splash Sports, where it's similar to the Vegas Super Contest that they do, where you have to pick 5 NFL games against the spread every week, and you have to beat enough people in the field that you're in the money, and I'm in the money right now, in the middle of the pack that's in the money. So I'm doing well there, but I want to continue to do well. The last couple of weeks have been really good for me. 4-0 this week going into tonight, where I do have Green Bay as my 5th pick this week in that one. Obviously, yesterday in that game, I used the 3 plays I gave out on the show, and I used New Orleans as my 4th play yesterday. So all of those hit. New Orleans with an outright win, baby, against the very, very bad Carolina Panthers, who should not have been above 500. All right, Cleveland and Miami. This is a pretty big game, even though you got to pay attention to what the injury situation is here. Tyler Hero is still injured, so he's not going to be back. Adebayo looks like he's missing this game as well, and he'll be back potentially in the next game. So you do have a pretty injured Miami team, although they are actually undefeated at home. So Miami's been good at home. Cleveland's only 3-2 on the road, so Cleveland not as good on the road as they are at home, at least to start the season. Cleveland obviously is the better team and the more intact team right now. Cleveland's coming off a nice win over Chicago, though. Chicago, hot start to the season. Cleveland was able to beat them. Now they're starting a road trip, although, yes, when you start a road trip, you usually will be focused and want to get it off on the right foot. And they actually play Miami again on Wednesday, and that is not one of the ESPN games. So not exactly a look ahead. I mean, if you think it's going to be a look ahead, then that means they're going to be focused on this game because it's the same opponent. Is it going to be a little bit of a letdown after Chicago? I mean, that would be my concern that I would have with Cleveland, other than the fact that maybe they overlooked Miami a little bit because Miami's really injured. And Miami's good at home, remember. So they don't even have a loss at home, and you're just asking them to cover as an underdog in this game. Miami had that nice win over Portland as an underdog. Now they're playing Cleveland here. Obviously, I think Miami's going to show up. I kind of expect both teams to show up, but I do think the line is probably too high, and the Heat have been good enough at home. Cavs maybe take them a little bit lightly. I would take the points with the Heat if I was going to play this. Not one of my stronger opinions. My strongest opinion I've talked about so far is obviously the Hornets, but 73% of the tickets, 61% of the cash on Cleveland. They dropped a little bit from an 8-point favorite to a 7.5-point favorite. I would take the points with the Heat if I was going to play it. Miami's got to win one of two. I mean, we'll see what happens because they're going to be in kind of a reverse injured player spot in the second game if Adebayo comes back in that one. But it will also be it'll be a zigzag spot if there's like an outlier result in this first game. If it's an outlier in either direction. So actually, if the Heat win tonight, the Cavs might be a good look in the zigzag spot in the next game. Yeah, I mean, the scheduling is crazy in the NBA. I mean, I've really, really done well in the NBA, like throughout the whole time I've been doing this, though. It's been like my best sport, and it's been my best sport by a significant margin over the last few years as well. I don't know what it is, but I just see the NBA pretty well. We're off to a decent start in the NBA this year as well. I mean, I think I was initially off to like a 6-1 start to start, something like that to start NBA. It's fallen off a little bit, but we're still definitely up in the NBA this year. Okay, although we did have an 0-3 NBA day the other day, which really, really pissed me off, and I think it should have been 2-1. All right, and the only game that was like an absolute loss was the team that I'm going to play today, so isn't that great? Spurs at Bulls. Spurs coming into this game after that not great performance at home against New Orleans, where I gave out New Orleans as a play in that game. The one thing I forgot to mention in the game, which I did mention in comments, was that De'Aaron Fox also came back. That was his first game of the season for San Antonio, so he's like a pure scorer. He doesn't play good defense. So I thought that working him back into the mix was going to be a little bit of a problem as well, especially because you have him. He's going to be their best offensive player, and then you have Wemby, who is their best defensive player and has been one of their better offensive players too. And it's like kind of this almost like a clash potentially between the two. Like they got to figure out their roles and whatever. I'm not saying they hate each other or anything like that, but I'm saying that they got to figure out their roles. Kind of made it a little bit of a tougher spot with Fox back in there. Spurs still won the game. They could have covered probably too, but New Orleans was able to close the gap at the end, and they actually cut it to 3 late in the game. and wound up losing by the key number of 7, which seems to happen very often. I gave up New Orleans plus 11 in that game, so we got the win. I think San Antonio might be a little bit more focused after that, because they were coming off beating Houston the game before that, man, and playing real tough against LA, the Lakers the game before that, so I thought it was a bad spot for San Antonio. But now, coming off a lackluster performance, I think they might be focused here against Chicago. It's second game with Fox now, so they'll have a little bit more chemistry built up with him after they figured out what was going on. They played a game with him. Chicago is coming off a pretty difficult loss to Cleveland, and they're returning home from a road trip, although it was a quick road trip that only took them to Milwaukee and Cleveland, so not a long road trip, so I don't really consider that to be one of those bad road trip return spots where they're going to be totally distracted or whatever. But it's a weird single-game homestand against a Western Conference team, although I know San Antonio's been good, so you might want to still get up for that game. But Chicago did just lose close to Cleveland, and they could have won this game. Like, this was close towards the end of the game between Chicago and Cleveland here. Chicago was winning the game late in the game. They were up 7 with 6 minutes left. They were still winning the game in the final couple minutes by multiple possessions, and then wound up losing the game still. So you got to think that's a bit of a heartbreaking loss. Now they're coming back home for one game, and then right away they have to go back out on the road and play Detroit, although they did beat Detroit to open the season. But that's a big game, too, the way Detroit's been playing, and probably bigger than this game just because that's a conference game. I think it might be a divisional game as well. So this looks like a bad spot to me, even though San Antonio's good. I think the spot sets up a lot better for the Spurs to be more focused, coming off kind of a bad game. Spurs are up from 1 to 3.5 here. 67% of tickets, 76% of the cash on the Spurs. It sounds like I like the Spurs quite a bit in this game. I do. This almost made my card. I just have one kind of issue with it, which is that we don't know what the Josh Giddey situation is, which I think is why the line is where it is, because I don't think the Spurs would be a 3.5-point favorite if there wasn't something else going on here. I think Giddey might not play in this game. He's day-to-day right now. He played in their last game, but he's basically Chicago's like star player. Still, he's averaging 21.4 points per game. If he is out, then it's going to make it an injured player spot for Chicago. So that will give Chicago a little bit more motivation and a little bit more a little bit more value in the line. Right, it's the injured player spot, so it means the line has to adjust to him being out, and the team might like show up a little bit more focused because, oh my God, our best player is out. We got to step up our game here. So that's the one hesitation that I kind of have with that. I like San Antonio in the game otherwise. Yeah, I mean, if you forced me to give you a pick in that one, I would still lean to laying the points with San Antonio, but I don't like that injured player spot that's kind of like messing with it. What I would say, though, is if it's announced that Giddey is actually going to play and then you see the line drop a little bit, then I might actually recommend playing San Antonio. I won't make it an official play on the show, but I think that's probably maybe the way I would handle it. Milwaukee is at Dallas. Milwaukee, they're coming off a tough game against Houston, man. They played pretty close against Houston at home, actually, yesterday. And now they're playing out on the road here against Dallas. Don't really love that as far as a spot. They're playing a third game in 4 days. Going out on the road off a tough game against Houston. They don't really have anything up next, though. I mean, Charlotte's not really going to be a look ahead. But I don't love the spot for Milwaukee here. As far as Dallas is concerned, though, Dallas, I mean, they're in an okay spot, I think, even though they're returning home from a road trip. They're playing a third game in 4 days, too, though, so you do have to watch out for that. The road trip only took them to Memphis and then Washington, though. So it's not one of those long road trips where a bunch of stuff builds up that you have to do back at home. It is still a third game in 4 days, though, in different cities, so I don't love that as far as a spot. They did just beat Washington, though, which I think what that will do is it won't make you overconfident, but it breaks a long losing streak. They had a 4-game losing streak, so I think that will give them some new momentum at least coming into this game. So I do like Dallas in this game, but this is a potentially reverse injured player spot for Dallas, which mostly is because Anthony Davis might come back here. So you got to figure out what's going on with the injury report here, man. It looks like, so you got Lively and Gafford are both game time decisions, but really the big one is Anthony Davis. I mean, he's the key guy here, really. So I think if he comes back, he's going to have to work his way back into the lineup, and I think that's going to mean that the line will shift a bit, and then you won't really get as much value on Dallas, and they have to get used to playing with him again and whatever, even though he should improve the team. I mean, he's good defensively as well and whatever, but I'm not really looking to actually play Dallas in his first game back. The Bucks are a 2-point favorite with a little bit of juice now, but they're very public. Public doesn't want anything to do with this Mavs team with the bad start that they've had, and their offense has been bad. They don't really have a point guard still. 86% of the tickets, only 57% of the cash on the Bucks. But the Mavs are also not quite as bad as they've looked so far because they've dealt with a lot of injuries to their forwards and to their big men, basically. So they're going to start getting a bit healthier and probably start playing a little bit better. If you forced me to give you a play in that one, I would take the points with the Mavs, but I don't love it. Lenny Wilkens died. Holy shit. Former Atlanta Hawk. He played on the Hawks, right? And then was he the coach on the Hawks as well? I don't know. I remember him. I can picture him in my head. Man, that brings me back. Shit. That sucks, man. All these people dying. All right. New Orleans at Phoenix. I like Phoenix in this one. I mean, New Orleans is coming off that nice performance against the Spurs where they played fairly close against the Spurs. They were within 3 late in the game against the Spurs. Now they're going to Phoenix. They have to go out a little bit further west here. I don't love the spot for New Orleans here. Zion is still out. Zion Williamson is still out for New Orleans. It looks like he might be back in their next game. So he's still out, so they might have some difficulty on the interior here. Phoenix, though, I mean, they're coming back from sweeping a home-and-home against the Clippers, which might have them feeling a little bit good about themselves. So I don't love the spot for Phoenix. They did just go to L.A. for the second of those 2 games, though it was only a 1-game road trip. Still is a better spot to me for Phoenix here. And Phoenix, they are playing a little bit better now. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're up from 6 to 8.5, so money looks like it certainly has come in a little bit on the Suns. I don't really know that there's any injury situation that's really triggering that line move. Williamson's been out, and he's still out, so there isn't really anything that I think is really moving that line like that. Jalen Green is actually out again for Phoenix, so he only played 7 minutes. He's only played 2 games, dude. He was the big part of the Durant trade. He came back. He had a really good game against the Clippers in his first game, and now he's out again. He played 7 minutes in the second game and got hurt again, and he's out again. So that does kind of make it an injured player spot, I guess, for Phoenix as well. So a little bit of an extra motivating factor for Phoenix, but they should play a little bit better. The line is a little bit high, though, so I do worry about that a little bit. It looks a little bit too high for me, especially at 8.5. I don't know why. With Green being out, Green's the biggest injury in this game. Why would the line move up on the Suns? I don't know. So I don't really see a lot of line value there, even though the spot says the Suns in this game. Phoenix is a good team, good defense. I don't know how good they really are, but what do you mean by it's a bad time for them to cover? I'm not sure what do you mean? I think the spot is better for Phoenix in that game, in my opinion. I just don't like the number. Like, that's the only thing I don't like about it, really. He coached the Cavs and the Hawks. Oh, he played for the Bucks. Why did I think he played for the Hawks? I guess I just remember him coaching then. Maybe I'm a little bit too young at this point. Minnesota at Utah. Minnesota's coming in off of blasting Utah 2 games ago, by the way. So they beat Utah by 40 points in Minnesota. They're not going to take Utah seriously here, man. They just go out to start the road trip, and they annihilated Sacramento as well. So Minnesota looking pretty good right now against a couple of teams that aren't really that good. And I think maybe Sabonis was still out for that game against Sacramento. They're now playing on a back-to-back, though, in a 3rd game in 4 days, all in different cities, having to go into elevation and play this Utah team that they already just totally embarrassed. And then they do have Sacramento again next, and then Denver. The spot sets up better for Utah, in my opinion. I just think Minnesota just might not show up for this game, and you're going to be asking them to lay like a ton of points on the road here. Utah hasn't played since that game against Minnesota, but the problem that I have with Utah is they're returning over from a road trip, and they've been on that road trip since Halloween. So they have not been home for a long time. So I do worry about that. The fact that they have to get stuff done back at home life to return to. It's usually a spot where I'd look to fade a team like that, especially a pretty bad team like Utah. Utah, certainly worse without Kessler, too, which sucks. Really, really bad injury for them, man. But you got to think they're going to be focused. When the last time they played, they were getting absolutely embarrassed by Minnesota, and now that's what they're playing again here. So I would lean to the Jazz plus the points here. It's only 7.5, so it almost looks too easy to lay the points with the Wolves here. 60% of tickets on the Wolves, 60% of the cash on the Jazz. I like the Jazz in that one plus the points. Yeah, I mean, the Jazz not looking good. I mean, that's a reason to be on the Jazz because it basically means you're going to get more value and focus from them. And I might do it if it wasn't for the fact that they're returning home from a road trip, which I just can't do it in a spot like that, but I still would lean that way. All right, let's get to the best bets, and then that'll be the end of the show. We're going to have 2 NBA plays. One of them, like I said, you're going to hate this first one. Even I really, really don't like it. We're back on the Wizards again. Wizards plus 12. We're going to fade Detroit. Detroit's off to a hot start, man. I know the Wizards might be the worst team in the entire NBA, but the market is agreeing with this. The Pistons are down from 12 to 11.5 now with juice. I think there are probably still 12s out there. It's not a huge difference anyway. 92% of the tickets on the Pistons, 70% of the cash coming in on Washington. I do not like the spot for Detroit here. Detroit's off to an 8-2 start. I don't believe that they're actually quite as good as this. I don't think they're as good as Cleveland, obviously. I think they're better than Chicago. Do I think they're better than Milwaukee? Probably not. At least if Milwaukee's healthy, I wouldn't say so. So I think Detroit's a little bit overvalued right now. Cade Cunningham's certainly good, but he is really just kind of the guy there. But now we got a situation where Detroit's on a back-to-back. They played yesterday, and they beat Philadelphia on the road yesterday. That was a big win. Detroit was the favorite, but Embiid, I think, was out in the game, but it's still big when you beat the Sixers, man. The Sixers are still one of those teams. I mean, I'm assuming the Sixers are going to be back in the playoffs this year. I mean, they're still a good team, at least when they're healthy. That's still a big win. And now Detroit's having to go from playing in New York against Brooklyn and then beating Philadelphia yesterday back home. So they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, and actually a fourth game in 6 days as well. And they have to play Chicago next, and you know that's going to be a big game. And not only is it Chicago next, but Detroit only has 2 losses. Guess who one of those losses was against? And it was the first game of the season. Yeah, that was Chicago. So I think Detroit is going to have some revenge in mind here. When you only have a couple losses on the season and you get to play the team that dealt you one of those losses, that's big. And then they do have Philadelphia up again after that. I think that's going to be big, man. So I think Detroit, it's a sandwich spot. I don't really see them taking Washington totally seriously here. And you're asking Detroit to cover this big number here. We're going to take the points with Washington in this one. I know it's horrendously ugly, but this is not a good spot for Detroit. And I think Detroit's a little bit overvalued right now. So take the points with Washington. The Pistons are another good team. I am the Pistons whisperer, but I've been good on the Pistons when they've been an underdog. Like, they've just been so undervalued, like, the last couple of years. Well, one of those years they weren't that undervalued. It was just that the few games that they actually won a couple of years ago, I was on, like, every single one of them because the Pistons, they just play well as an underdog when they're facing a team that's in a bad spot. But yeah, the Pistons, we'll see if I'm a whisperer when they're favored. I was right about the Bulls in the first game of the season. It wasn't a play for me, but I said lean to the Bulls plus the points in that one, so I had that one correct as well. I mentioned long winning streaks when they lose, because I think when you finally lose the winning streak, it hangs you over. Dude, no way. I'm not going to step in front of a winning streak unless there's a reason to do so. I am a streak buster, so I do like to find a spot where you think it might happen and bust that streak, and I've been decent at doing that. But other than that, I do not want to. Dude, you don't want to go in front of a streak, like, because it's just a streak is momentum, so I don't want to do it unless there's a really good reason to do it. They're tired out from playing Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, that's part from playing Philadelphia. I mean, Maxey, the Maxey pad. That's part of the handicap for sure. I mean, they played yesterday. Maxey, I mean, I guess, speed you up as far as how Philadelphia plays their game. So, yeah, that's all part of the handicap. I mean, the Wizards also didn't play yesterday, so another part of the handicap is the rest situation there. The Wizards last played on Saturday. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Wizards part of it. Wizards are on a long loss streak, and I'm jumping in front of that train. But yeah, the Wizards, they lost to Dallas in their last game. They played decently in the game, though. Now they're going out on the road. I think when you have a loss streak at home like that, it is good to just leave, go on the road. You can kind of just focus on playing basketball again, so I don't mind that. I think it's a decent spot. It's not a bad spot for Washington. I mean, a team like that can't really afford to be unfocused. And then the last game, we're going to lay the points with the Clippers in this late game here. I think the Clippers might be a little bit undervalued right now because their start to the season has been bad. They're up from 4.5 to 5 here, 74% of tickets, 95% of the cash on the Clippers. One of the only things I don't love about this is maybe the injury situation here with the Clippers with mostly, well, it was Harden. So mostly it was Harden, though, and Harden was out for, like, personal reasons. And I believe he came back in the last game, so it's going to be his second game back. Yeah, so I don't worry about that as much. So Harden came back, and a lot of times I talk about this. When when your star player like Harden has been out, which he was out the previous game for personal reasons, whatever that was, then he came back. Sometimes that first game back, you don't really get a great performance out of him. And he had a lot of assists, but he had a terrible shooting game. He was 4 for 15 from the floor. That's not going to happen again. So I think Harden's going to be a lot better in this game. And now it's his second game back. So I actually think it's kind of that like second game back from the reverse injured player spot or from the reverse missing player spot. I mean, what was it when he was out for personal reasons? I don't know. You do have the other factor with Kawhi Leonard, but Leonard is an old man, and he's just still out, so that's not really a factor here anyway. It'll factor into the line a little bit, but Leonard, I mean, he's in and out of the lineup so much. I don't think him being in and out really affects the team that much anymore. So I like that it's Harden's second game back. I think LA is going to play better for that reason, and I do not like the spot for Atlanta. Atlanta's still without Trae Young, by the way, so they're still shorthanded. And what did they do in their last game? They beat the LA Lakers by 20 points, man. That is a monster win. And now they're having to go out on the road. That was on Saturday. They're playing a third game in 4 days, although the first two were at home. And they should have won for me, by the way, against Toronto. I mean, that was a total implosion by Atlanta against Toronto. And Atlanta had a bad shooting game. They won the rebound battle. That was some bullshit in that loss for me on Friday. I was pissed. But yeah, they come back. They beat LA. Now they're going out on the road to face the lesser LA team, and this means they're crossing all the time zones with only 1 day off. They're having to go out to the Pacific Coast for a late night game. It's going to be late. You know how I talk about this, late with your biological clock, and I know usually I say first game of a road trip, you tend to be a little bit focused or more focused. I don't think so in this spot. I think it's a letdown spot because they just beat the Lakers by 20 and dealt the Lakers one of their few losses on the season without Trae Young still, by the way, for Atlanta. Lakers still without LeBron, but whatever. They have Luka there and whatever. Now Atlanta's got to play this really late night game, which is going to be difficult for an East Coast team. And the Clippers have not been playing well, so I think you're going to get a focused Clipper team here. Clippers just lost that home and home against Phoenix. They have a day off as well, but they're staying at home, so the travel spot is way better. I mean, they've been at home since Halloween, basically, and the only trip they made was that one trip to Phoenix. And yeah, they've lost like all these games. I don't know how. Oh, well, one of them was Oklahoma City. I mean, that's why they lost that. But, I mean, Harden, missed one of the games. Kawhi Leonard has been out for a while. He's missed some of those games. So, I don't know. What do you really take away from any of that? I don't take much away from it, except that I think you're going to get a focused Clipper team that is not as bad as their record looks right now. Yes, I know they have Denver up next, but do you really think the Clippers are going to look ahead when they're 3-6 right now? I think they have to show up for this game. And as far as the Clippers are concerned, all of their wins have come at home at least. So the Clippers, they're 3-6, but they're at least 3-3 at home. So every one of their wins has been at home. They are still certainly better at home than on the road, which has been the case in this new stadium that they started playing in at some point during last season. So, yeah, we'll lay it with the Clippers. The money seems to be agreeing with that. It's already moving up, like to 5 with juice now. So, Might have to get on that because it looks like the public percentage is slightly on them, but the money is also on them. So Clippers, I like it. That's going to be the play there. The Wizards, it was against, I gave them out as a play against Cleveland. I don't know that the Wizards, I wouldn't even say that the Wizards didn't show up in that game. I think they did. I think they just got manhandled by Cleveland and the game got out of hand. That's just what it was. Cleveland's just a way better team than the Wizards. I mean, sometimes that happens. Like, my handicap on that was that Cleveland would overlook them, and they didn't really do that. So that was just, that was the way that it was. But this is, I'm sticking with what works. I mean, this is what's worked, for decades. So I'm trusting the process here, and that is what's leading me to be on the Wizards in this game. NFL, we are going to give out a play in Green Bay. I saw it at Bally in Massachusetts on Moneyline play at -110. I did see a pick'em price at that same book, so it makes sense. The pick'em was the same. Sometimes you'll see the spread market will actually differ from the Moneyline market, but in this case, they had it the same. All the other books had Green Bay at -1. Some at reduced juice. So whichever you want to do. Money line, especially when you get the money line, basically you get the pick'em price. I mean, there's no reason to not do that because then you're playing it at the same price that you would anyway. And you're just asking them to win the game instead of risking it being a push if they win by 1. I would still lay the 1 if that's all you have out there. But I like Green Bay in this game, and the market is shifting on this game as well. So we do see the market in agreement with me now. And I was hoping we could still get Green Bay, basically just to pick the winner game, which we do. Pregame is not letting me fucking click on NFL right now. I don't know why. Fuck you, pregame. There it is. So the Packers, they were initially a 3-point favorite, by the way. So I talked about this on my NFL show on Saturday night. The look ahead on this game was Packers -3. And this was not an actual move in the market. So the look-ahead market is a different market. That's the market prior to last week's games. The Packers were -3. Then last week's games happened. Then the books opened up this new market for the week, and now they're going to start raising the limits. And they opened it up at Packers -1. It actually got bet down to like a pick'em, and now it's back up to a -1. And the public looks like they're all over the Eagles. 70% of the tickets, only 63% of the cash. And you know me, I like fading the public, especially in a case like this where you're actually getting a good team and the public is actually on the road underdog here and you're getting a good team as a home favorite and fading the public. I like doing that, and we're going to see in a minute. I like the situation as well for the Packers, although I did already talk about it on Saturday night, so you probably, if you saw that, you remember what I said. But we're getting line value here as well because, again, the look ahead was 3. And what happened last week? All that happened last week, the Eagles were on bye, so that didn't factor into this number. Literally, this line moved from Packers -3 off of that key number of 3 to Packers being a -1 or a pick'em entirely because the Packers lost to Carolina. That's it. There's no other factor here. The books moved the line off of a key number just because of that. And that's an overreaction in 1 week's results, man. In these Monday night games, sometimes you do see overreactions in the market to that extent just because the books know that the public, they're going to be on this game. I mean, this is a big game. Eagles, Packers, and it's Monday night. Public likes to play Monday night anyway because they try to make up some of the money they lost on Sunday. And they're going to be coming in on the Eagles here, man. And this especially is an attractive game for bettors because it's two good teams. So the public's going to love it. They're going to be on the over as well. 80% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on the over. The line has gone up a little bit on the total to 45.5. I don't like the over, though. I mean, public might be remembering last year there was that ridiculously high-scoring game in Brazil early in the season between the Eagles and the Packers. But, and I believe the Eagles wound up winning that game, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But that game was only high-scoring because the turf in Brazil was, like, totally messed up. It was all chewed up. So that actually helps the offense, believe it or not, because the defense can't react, and they, like, trip and slide. So like slippery surfaces actually help the offense. It hurts the defense more because the defense has to react to which way the offensive player is going, and that could trip them up more. So that's what happened in that game. Both teams ran the football really well in that game on that surface. And then, of course, we remember, though, part of this handicap, the last time these two teams played, it was actually a lower scoring game in the playoffs. I think this is going to be the type of atmosphere here. So I slightly lean to the under in this game, too, but I like the Packers, man. And I think the under somewhat correlates to the Packers, even though they're a small favorite here, because I think the Packers are the better defense. The Eagles' defense has been a little bit worse than last year because they lost 6 of their defensive starters that they had last year, even though I think they did add at least one guy at the trade deadline, or maybe a couple, but even so, Packers, they've had a good defense like most of the year, basically all year, man. And they have Micah Parsons now as well, although he's hurt. His back is messed up, and he has to take an epidural before every game. But he's had an impact. The Packers' defense is better than their offense, so they're a nice balanced team. They're starting to get healthy offensively. I think Jacobs missed some time. He's back for the Packers. Christian Watson missed, I think, most of the season as one of their best receivers. He's back as well. So the Packers are getting healthy at the right time. I think that revenge angle is a huge angle here because the Packers, obviously you remember who ended your season last year, man. And for the Packers, that was the Eagles. The Packers went to Philadelphia. I think I actually gave out a play on the Eagles minus the points in that game, and it won. But the Packers played pretty well in that game, and they had chances to at least cover in that game. But again, the Packers are going to remember that. This is at Lambeau now. You know Green Bay is going to show up for this game. They have this game circled. And if that wasn't good enough, they're going to be even more motivated because they dropped that game last week to Carolina, and now everybody's making fun of Green Bay. The public doesn't want Green Bay anymore. So that's going to motivate them even further, man. You know that they're going to get up after that horrible game they had against Carolina, and there was a reason I gave out Carolina as a play on the show, man. Plus 13.5, because Green Bay was coming up that huge Aaron Rodgers Bowl in primetime where Jordan Love got to beat Aaron Rodgers, man. Like the mentee beat the mentor in that game. That was a huge game for them. So I think it was a big letdown spot for Love and for Green Bay playing Carolina in an afternoon game on Sunday. They didn't focus on that game. And they had this game up next, which obviously they had circled. It was a primetime sandwich, prime rib sandwich between these two primetime games. This is that revenge playoff spot. You know Green Bay wants this game, probably even more than Philadelphia does. So I like Green Bay for all those reasons. As I talked about on Saturday night, this was also a misleading result because Green Bay actually did play well enough to win this game. They outgained Carolina by more than 100 yards in the game. They did lose the turnover battle 2-1. It wound up being a close final result, and Green Bay wound up losing the game. But again, they played better than it looked on the scoreboard. Carolina didn't do anything offensively in this game. That's pretty evident from the scoreboard. But the Packers actually moved the ball against Carolina. They just didn't convert it into points. So Packers, I think they're actually a bit undervalued here. I mean, I already pointed out how the number moved for no real reason other than that game. So we're getting value on the Packers here, man. The public's going to want Philadelphia because they've been playing better than Green Bay recently. People just see Green Bay playing these close games against bad teams and then Green Bay losing to Carolina. Public doesn't like that. They don't want Green Bay right now, even though Green Bay's defense is good. They're going to jump on back on the Eagles, who are the returning champs, and the Eagles are hot again. They've won their last 2 games, so they're looking good again. They're the returning champs. They're 6-2, but the Eagles are coming out of a bye, and yes, I know that means they have extra rest, but well, first of all, it's a Monday night game, so at the very least, Green Bay hasn't played since last Sunday afternoon, so they do have an extra day compared to what they normally would have at least, but I don't think the bye is helpful to Philadelphia because Philadelphia had just won 2 games in a row against Minnesota and the Giants, getting revenge against the Giants for an earlier loss, so a divisional win. Normally, that wouldn't be that big, but it was revenge, and it was a divisional game. But they went into a bye on a 2-game win streak, and I always talk about this, how I don't think you want to go into the bye on a win streak, because when you do that, you don't have anything to work on. You don't have anything to fix. Everything's working for you. So I don't think that bye actually came at a helpful time for Philadelphia. I think what it's going to do is slow down their momentum and hurt their momentum a little bit, and they're going to take a little while to get back up to speed. So I also don't mind playing Green Bay in like the first half in this game either or something like that, or first quarter, like playing Green Bay to come out with fire after that ugly loss. Philadelphia to start slow. I could see that being the case too, but I basically just do full games. I think Green Bay's the right side here. Everything seems to basically line up. I like the situation. This is one of the ones that I keyed on when I looked at the schedule at the beginning of the week. I said, oh, yeah, I like this one. And it was one of those rare times where I actually liked both primetime games a lot. With the Chargers last night and Green Bay tonight, I'm making them both plays. Sticking with it. I've liked it all week. I still like it. I think we're getting line value and overreaction in the line. Everything, man. It's a bounce-back situation for Green Bay. It's playoff revenge for Green Bay. It's a momentum slowing buy for Philadelphia here. So, yeah, I like it for a lot of reasons. Green Bay, money line, pick 'em price, whatever. -1 is fine, too. Any of those solid options. Let's do it. Green Bay. There we go, man. Those are the plays today. You like the under in this game as well? Yeah, I prefer the side. I slightly lean to the under, but yeah. Russell Crowe as Gehring. What movie is that? What movie are we talking about? I like Russell Crowe generally. I don't know what movie we're talking about, though. Something involving Germany. The Alec Baldwin Nuremberg movie. It's probably propaganda, to be honest. I haven't seen that one. Alec Baldwin, weird dude, man. I mean, he's out there accidentally shooting cinematographers dead, and Alec Baldwin, his current wife, which I think is like his third wife, he stayed with her even though she pretended to be from Spain and faked a Spanish accent for 3 years. Oh, that's not a big lie. I'll just stay with you, honey, after all that. Like, it makes no sense, dude. You can look it up. Hilaria Baldwin. It's hilarious. She's from Boston, and she lied and said that she was from Spain and faked an accent for years. And Alec Baldwin at least claims that he didn't know the whole time. But then when it came out, he's like, I love her. I'm staying with her. But it's so ridiculous, dude. It makes no sense. No. Refs fixing it for the Eagles. Hell no. The books are probably going to need Green Bay in this one because the ticket percentage and cash percentage are both on the Eagles. The public, there's a heavy influx of public betting on Monday night. The books pretty much need the public side to lose. Depending on what you think, like in which way you think the game is going to be rigged. I'm just sticking with my situational handicapping. Let's get the wins today, man. The plays today, college basketball, we got Cleveland State plus the 21.5 against Northwestern. I kind of like how that one sets up. And Grand Canyon minus the points. This one's going up, so hopefully you can get the best number you can on that. 20.5 is what I saw as the best number. Missed out on a couple of the earlier numbers at around 18. Hopefully it doesn't matter that much. NBA, I know how ugly this is. Wizards plus the points. Clippers minus the points. And then NFL, we're going with Green Bay, which I think that's my favorite of all the games today, though. Green Bay, Packers. My NFL, I've been seeing the NFL really well over the last few weeks. And if we get that one, it'll get me to 5-0 in my splash pool. So hopefully that does happen for that reason, too. Obviously, it'll be in my ESPN pick'ems and stuff like that as well on Green Bay. So that's what's going to happen. What's PSYOP? Everything's a PSYOP at this point, man. Mr. Pinsey, thank you for hanging out. Hopefully I give you some more winners, man. We bounced back pretty nicely yesterday, depending on which numbers you got. Like I said, it was either 6-2-1, 5-2-2, or 5-3-1 yesterday. So it was a winning day regardless, but depending on which number you got on that Western Michigan game, it was either a win, a push, or a loss. So I want to get better at college basketball again. Hopefully we can do it today. Thank you, sir. The NFL, I don't know if it's easy. I think like the situations are just working out in the NFL. I'm giving myself credit. I don't think it's been easy. The public has been getting drilled in the NFL. The public's been really, really bad for those weeks, and usually that means I'm going to be doing pretty well when that's the case. But I got to give myself credit, I think, because I think I've been seeing it well, man, and everything's coming through for me in the NFL. I don't want to jinx it. I hope we get it done tonight with the Packers. Let's go. Let's go, Pack. I have an old Aaron Rodgers Packers jersey. It's probably at my parents' house. I was there yesterday. I should have found it in preparation for this because I could have worn it today. But that's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe. Give me good comments here on the YouTube channel. Listen on audio, Spotify, iTunes. Give me a good 5-star review over there. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. And then patreon.com/LearnToToad. Some bonus content. You get a Spotify Uke feed, and you get prioritize requests. I keep saying it, and I know I haven't done it yet, but I got to start doing some live Uke request streams, and then maybe start doing some for the Patreons. Build that up a bit more, man. So my voice just has not been good, which is why I haven't done that many Uke covers recently. I know there were like 2 that I haven't put up on Spotify yet, and one was a Charles request. Sorry, Charles. I got to do it, but I at least did it on Twitter and YouTube already. So I got to get back to it. Got to figure out ways to fix my voice, save my voice. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out again this morning. I'll be back again tomorrow morning, I think, unless I got to figure out what I want to do with college basketball, because one of the days is huge in college basketball, and I forget if it's Tuesday or Wednesday, so depending on which one it is, I kind of want to do college basketball the night prior, but sometimes it's hard to handicap college basketball the night prior. We'll see, though. I'll figure out what to do about that, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be back tonight or not, but we're not really in the full swing college basketball yet, really. Like, once you get into conference play, you kind of get the more, I don't know what to call it, like the more standardized schedule, I guess. So we'll see. I'll look at what tomorrow's board looks like and see if I want to do it in the morning. Peace for now, guys. Thanks for hanging out.